This is Street Cred, the show focused on helping clothing brands turn their audience into a community. I'm Elijah Delport. This morning, or today, whenever you're listening to this episode, we have a guest I'm very excited to welcome onto the show. He and I have been some friends. We've been friends for some time now, for the better part, or nearly a year, and it brings me great pleasure to welcome a electronic artist. He's in the DJ scene. He does producing. He's very much started in skateboarding when he was young, which makes him the perfect person to start a brand like he has called Undreamed Merch. Please welcome to the show, John. Thanks for joining me.
Hello everyone.
Can I just say, John, the mask is one of the most amazing things we've ever seen on Street Cred. We've never had someone with a mask, and here you are. You're the first, and I'm so glad you're here wearing the mask.
Yeah, there's a couple of people doing this already, but yeah, in streetwear and in music, but yeah, I've taken this route somehow. I think it's a good decision for me. I feel comfortable like that.
Yeah. I think maybe it's a good place to start the conversation. Like, why are people doing this mask? And I think it's because with social media now, everyone's forced to create something if they want a business. For the most part, like if you're selling stuff online, you have to build an audience online on social media. And I think that some people just they really don't want to show their face. And so they resort to putting on a mask and it becoming their brand. And so they don't have to reveal their identity, and yet they can still have an online presence and have a personality. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I think so. I first saw this in music, and maybe artists like Aphex Twin or Burial. These people don't really show their faces, or Drexia, this t-shirt. And I don't know, it instantly made it more attractive to me and to a lot of people. It's just like there's something about that which actually becomes kind of a selling point. It's like you don't know who they are. Okay, so that's something to start, and then yeah, it's what if the brand blows up, and I don't really want to. I don't want people to recognize me in the street. It's like it seems like it's not very convenient, at some point. And also in my personal case with the brand, I'm still doing some bootleg stuff, so I don't really want people to know my face, like.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I guess, yeah, that's true. I mean, there are some benefits in that if you're going big with it. Well, you might not want everyone knowing your name, or at least not your face.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, like it started like I just remember it starting with Marshmello and people like that, like Marshmello, Dead Mouse, like
Dead
those
Mouse,
DJs.
yeah. uh
Yeah,
Kiss,
which
Kiss is an old rock and roll band. They used to have like makeup and cover their faces.
yeah,
So
right. Which I think like on that for them doing it, I think it's one of the most it's the one of the smartest business moves I've seen, because I saw this the other day. There's this channel on YouTube called Marshmello Cooking, and it's like it's the Marshmello guy, and it's just
yeah,
his cooking show, and he's making shorts, and he's making different dishes, like pasta and man, I can't think of any other dish than pasta right now. But I'm like, this is great. That's not Marshmello though. There is no way that's actually Marshmello. And but there's no way anyone could know, and that's why it's genius, because they could be swapping this guy out. This guy could
yeah.
die off, and they could have another person come in, and the Marshmello brand is like he can sell the Marshmello brand, and it could
Yeah,
be a different person that there's just a good DJ,
yeah, that's
and it
true.
works. And
Yeah, and also we live in a moment where everything is like too accessible, and somehow you don't know, you can have a very big artist which 10 years ago it would have been nearly impossible knowing their day-to-day life, and today they stream, you know, they're
Yeah,
cooking in their house and they're streaming, you know, so there's like too much accessibility
sure.
to people. And yeah, so reserving a little bit, it's like, yeah, you don't want to
Yeah.
show everything, you know. Like,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, John. Yeah. And plus, I mean, I think this is a big thing for clothing brands. Everyone's so fixated on creating a personal brand. That's all, I swear, it's all I hear at the moment. Some of the conversations that I have every single day are just people, building their personal brands and like, how do I do that? And it's like, um the truth is, like, it's if everything is your personal brand, it becomes something really hard to sell. It's just suddenly not desirable to an investor because you're irreplaceable. You become irreplaceable as a person. It's like it has to be you. And so what happens
mhm,
if you're sick? What happens if you're unwell? What happens if you want to do something else? Captain goes down with the ship.
yeah,
That's problematic. Whereas if you're wearing a mask and the mask becomes your brand and people recognize something you wear instead of your face or some other attribute, then anyone could put that on and they take on that brand, and then so it's not so irreplaceable anymore. And so I think it's a great alternative for that anyway, even if
yeah.
you
And
don't.
also it's, I don't want, it's not about me in the end. Like, it's not, the brand is not about me, it's about, you know, the
Yeah,
customers, what do they want. The only purpose I fulfill is to try to resolve some of their issues, you know. It's not about me.
right.
It's
Yeah,
like, I don't, yeah, I don't have that necessity, you know, in terms of ego of like, oh, it's, you know, my brand and me. I don't really care. I'm just trying to make some cool objects, you know, and that's it.
yeah. I No, I love when you said that, John. That's just great. Yeah, so look, I actually really want to come back to that, but I think we should start at the top, since most listeners right now are thinking these guys are having a conversation and I have no idea who John is and what he does and what his brand is. So maybe let's start there. John, could you give us a bit of a summary about who you are, how you got to the place and where you are now and what you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, I'm like in my late 30s, and I operate in Barcelona, but I'm from somewhere else. And yeah, I was this kind of kid who like started skateboarding and playing guitar and painting graffiti from a very early age. So I think I started to skate and got my first guitar at 8, and I was already into like punk and hardcore at that time somehow, and like heavy music, blues, just a wide range of art. My parents kind of did a good job with that. And then when I was like 15, I discovered graffiti through, you know, being in a skate park, or yeah, just like the interest of music led to skateboarding, skateboarding led to graffiti, graffiti led to raving, and so on. And I've been into like counter cultures my whole life. And then at some point I was like working at like a shitty job, and I was like a little bit depressed, so I would spend most of the time at work just like on Internet Archive, which is a website that well, it's like a kind of like anarchic internet archive that just have millions of scans of books from any era and any topic. And I would just like kind of download images, like hoarding, you know, in files, like just stuff that I like. And and then one day I thought like, well, this is, I don't know, it's just I don't know what I was doing, but I was like really relaxed, and somehow the idea came to me like, oh, you should start an Instagram with all these images that you have. Because at the time there was like some accounts called Graphic Index and Graphic, I don't know, it was like a bunch of accounts who were related to posting daily graphics. So I started a collection of that, and then somehow I thought, well, maybe I could start turning some of these into t-shirts, like, because I've always liked graphic t-shirts. And so basically that's how, what who I am and why I started, doing clothing. Is just a kind of a interesting, a wide range of like art and subcultures, and as most of it is kind of obscure, I couldn't find like clothing that would represent my taste, or it would be, you would find one t-shirt but it's like vintage and it's very expensive. So yeah, it was a way like for me to do my own clothing, and then also selling it to people who are also in that position, and the whole idea of the brand is to make or put out designs that if you are a super fan of that thing, you're just not going to be able to resist to get it, because it's like so undreamed, in a way. Like it wasn't, nobody ever thought there was going to be merch of that, so yeah, that was the idea. So
That is a fantastic concept. I've been speaking about that, I think, a lot recently on the show, about making a brand for the 1%. And I think you summed it up in that last thing you said about making a brand for the super fans. It's like, wait, for you and for Undreamed Merch, you have a design or a design concept that's so niche that there's like a very small subset of people that really care about it. But those subset of people have never seen anything like it on the market before, because everyone else is too broad, because everyone else or is specifically in something else. It's just that specific. And so for that very specific person, it becomes the no-brainer. It becomes the no-brainer
exactly.
selling point.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's like, so my mother's husband, he had his birthday like 2 weeks ago, and he's a helicopter fighter, a helicopter flight pilot. And I know from talking to him from so many years, I know he likes a specific helicopter that has like two set of,
Propellers.
yeah,
Propeller.
I don't remember the name now. So I downloaded like the planes and the exploded view and the planos. I don't know how do you say that?
Like the blueprint, like the floor plan or something like that. Yeah.
And I did like a t-shirt with like front and back and like on the sides, and it had the name of the, so that's like super specific to helicopter pilots. Like, of course I'm not selling that t-shirt, but it's like, that's to illustrate my example. So if you are a helicopter fighter pilot, and you kind of like that helicopter, if you see that t-shirt, it's gonna be like, I need it, like, because so that's,
did you show him
what?
Did you show him the t-shirt?
Yeah, I sent it to him on the mail, and he was like,
What
"What?
did
Like, how did you knew this?" And like, this is amazing. Like, this is for me. Like,
Exactly. And that's the reaction that I feel like so many clothing brands desire, they don't know how to get, and they miss out on. It's like the reaction of the customers going, "What? This is amazing. This is like, this is for me. This is the brand I've been waiting for." That's the words that should come out of their mouth when they see your brand. It's like, this is the brand I've been waiting for. And I love that, like, that is what this pilot has said about this piece, about this shirt. And
Yeah.
man, I think he'd really appreciate you for that. Hey.
Yeah. It's, I mean, in the end, I think that's what you need to do, is like pay attention to what your customers want. It's not it's hard to do, of course. Uh,
Yeah.
but I mean, you can always like see, you that Instagram is fucking amazing. Like you can go to your follower lists and click one by one and see what they do. Like you can see
Yes.
their life, you know, like if you do that, like seriously, you can grab a lot of information. Like
John, you're sharing the things that most people aren't willing to do. And you know what? The reason why is they won't click on every individual account and the people that follow them, because they tell themselves, but I can't do this when I have way more followers. And I can't do this when there's so many people. I can't spend hours and hours a day. Okay, but like you could do 10, you could do 15, you could do 20, and even if not then, you can do it now, because right now you've got a small following, like dear listener, right? So I like John, please, like tell, like can you share a bit more about like what, like from what would you call it, like a technique, a strategy, I don't know, something from that thing where you're going into people's accounts and you're looking at their, like what are the things you're looking for? What are you like, what do you think the real benefit is, and how do you use that information?
I mean, I'm not doing it right now. I did it with with another account, with the graphic reference account, with my
Mm,
own music project account, and with other clients that I work with, uh, as a community manager or stuff like that. It's you always want to know what your customer persona is, and so you would want to know, you know, an average of age or an average of gender. What do they do on the daily basis? What are they, where do they hang out, like what type of like posts do they do, especially if like if you can see what do they buy. People post
mm,
what they buy. um and yeah, you don't need to do all of your followers. You can do like a subset of like 50 accounts, and that would tell you a lot. Like, and
yeah.
yeah, it's not really that hard, to be honest. It's actually pretty wild that you can do that. Like, it's like in terms of privacy, you know, but it's out there, and I mean, people post their lives there, so you know, people are willing to
Yeah,
have.
I've never even considered doing that, like, and that benefit, but that is a very smart strategy, because you're right, people post their lives on there. You can learn a lot about a person. I think it's actually like, if people knew how much information they had about there on themselves, like even me, like it would surprise them. It would surprise me about like
Yeah,
what people could find out about who you are and what you do. Because I mean, I think for the most part, we're fairly careless with information, and letting it be out there on the internet.
I mean, you don't even need to do it with your followers. What you can do is like, this is something I do, but it's also, it's that's pretty organic as well. It's like, okay, I log in the morning, I see a bunch of people follow me. I always check who they are. If it's private, well, if it's someone that really resonates with me, I follow them back. So I'm already in the loop. I'm already seeing what they do. Like, and
Yes.
with some of them, I might even chat. Like, it's like, with some of them, I might even like leave a comment. So you have to be in tune with them. You have to be one of, well, not necessarily be one of them, but you need to be in tune with them to see
Yeah.
what do they need and see if you can resolve that, you know.
Yeah. Look, yeah, I used to do this thing where, so I was building a community. You know, my niche is like clothing brands, and I was building a community of clothing brands when I first started it. Sorry, excuse me. And so I was wanting to grow this, and I was looking for growth strategies probably, 7-8 months ago now. And so what I did is every new person that followed me, I sent them a message. I sent every single one a message, and it was to introduce myself and ask them a question with the one goal to start a conversation. And people were really surprised that I messaged them when they followed me, because no one else messages them when they hit follow. And so it actually made them feel really special. And for the most part, people responded. And so I'd say, something along the lines of, hey, I'm Elijah. I saw you recently followed me. How long have you been in the fashion game for? And we'd start a conversation. And from there, I was able to invite them to my, free community, and they could come and engage with some other brand owners too. But I think like these kind of high effort, high engagement strategies are really worth it in the beginning. They're really, really worth it, where you're looking at every single account that follows you and taking notes and looking for patterns and seeing the kind of like, what are the patterns between all these people? What are they all interested in? What are the things, like, who are the people do they follow? And what are the things that they're posting? What are the things that they like to see? And messaging every single person that follows you. Like, man, if I was a clothing brand with under 1,000 followers, that I would absolutely be doing that. I'd be trying to create a relationship with every single person that followed me. Why? Because like in the beginning you can, and those people, you increase their likelihood of becoming buyers if you create like you build a relationship with them in the beginning. Yeah. Even the fact that like I hear a lot of people talking about, like, I don't know how to, like, a lot of people don't know how to make their brand, like give their brands personality and that kind of thing. And they're like, well, we don't know how to just not appear like a company because we're selling clothing, and how do we not just sell the clothing and that's all we post about? And like we could talk about all this brand identity stuff and like creating community brands and like whatever. But like even before then, you've got a personality yourself. Why not just send them a message and start like engaging with them like you're just you? Because you are, because you are you.
Well, how would I make it more personal? Well, be a person. Just like yes. So one thing, two things about that is imagine you live in a, I don't know, you live at a level street, your house is at a level street, and your windows are huge, and everyone can see from from outside. And there's this one new dude who's like outside your house like this, watching you. Wouldn't you go and say, hello, how are you? Like, thank you for showing up. Of course. Well, every new follower is just like a person in your house, like watching you like this. It's like, so it's like it's like almost kind of natural that you will be like, hey, what's up? Welcome, or fuck off, or whatever you want to say. And then the other thing is like, I cannot give you like the exact study name or whatever, but I saw this one thing about, there was this study about why. So there's this commonality among people who are ascended in their jobs. Mm-hmm. And the commonality was that they do small talking. So the person who does more small talking in an office has more chances to be, ascended to a higher position.
Interesting.
And
that wouldn't be me, because I hate small talk, man. I cut straight to the interesting bit of a conversation.
So that means that there's something about, making these touch points, social touch points with people that make you more memorable, and then from that on, something else could happen.
Yeah, I think it, like, there are some very simple small things that small brands can do that just make it so easy to beat every other small brand out there right now, and it's because they're just not doing it. And it's like on what you're saying, it's like the small talk in the office space. The small talk is such a simple thing, and people that rise in the ranks in their workplace, you'd think that it's because of, I don't
Their
know, some
competence,
like
yes.
a hundred other reasons, right?
Yeah.
They're a good public speaker, or it's like no, it's the thing that no one thought that actually allowed them to rise to in their career. And
Mhm.
I think it's much the same. Like everyone's creating great products nowadays. That's not a selling point. I always say this all the time. That's not a point of difference. There's nothing special about your product from every other product out there. So do the things that other brands aren't willing to do, like messaging your members, like following, like messaging your members. Heck, I meant followers, but let's call them members, right? Because we're building a community here, right? Like message your followers and build relationships and do things that you can't scale. Do things that you can't scale. And heck, man, like that kind of stuff pays off. And look, John, I'd love you to share, because like some of the things that you're doing to build a community just awesome. Like I love following your page, and I love like watching what you're doing, and you give me a lot of ideas on this kind of stuff. And I'm going to be honest with you, John. I use your ideas all the time. I speak about your ideas all the time. I spoke about something like, a while ago, and I have many times since, about the idea of a common enemy. And it's not that you came up with it, John, but like I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
you saying common enemy in my community. And I'm like, that's great. I'm going to use that. So I hope you don't mind, man.
Yeah, the common enemy is good. There's this another one that I heard, and it's that you should tie your product to to a location or a use case. So in my case, it would be the dance floor or a festival. That would be
Yes.
very, very specifically for me. So, and then now I have this idea. Okay, I'm gonna go with my analog camera, and like every time I go out, I'll try to wear one of my T-shirts, and then so I can tie my product to that emotion. So I know, so people will
Yeah.
know it serves that need in that kind of moment. And
That's
I'm
fantastic.
try it. I saw it in a reel, like, and there's so much education you can have just for free on like reels and stuff, like what you do, and there's like a lot of people doing. And yeah, just try to pay attention to that and try to put them in use, and yeah, it's actually a great time to like, there's resources everywhere. That maybe it's also the worst part. So something I wanted to say, like when you say people don't want to do this, it's like I know people don't do it, and I also sometimes don't do stuff that I know I should be
Mm.
doing, because there is so many resources. There's
Yeah.
this good thing about the era that we live. There is so many resources, and everything's almost free. And then that's also like a double-edged sword, which is you get paralyzed and you're not messaging your followers, and you're not checking out what they do, because you're watching another reel and another reel and another reel of resources and different ways to do this. And at some point, you need to put the phone down and put your ass in the fucking chair and do the boring work, So that's the problem with the era that we live. We have a lot of resources, but maybe too much. So
Yeah. Overconsumption is a real
yeah,
thing. Hey.
paralyzed. You get paralyzed from options, and yeah, not knowing which one is the best of those
Yeah.
resources.
Do you have any useful tips that have helped you in the areas of consuming education and not becoming paralyzed or fighting against paralysis when it comes?
Yeah, I made a big change. I started paying an app that blocks my Instagram.
That's amazing. I
That's
love
what I'm,
that.
that's what I'm doing. So right now I'm paying. It's the big one, the big app. I don't want to say the name because I don't know. But yeah, it's so I can only use my Instagram from like 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So while I eat, and
Nice.
then my real daily reel posting, which is like from 5 to 8 in the afternoon, and then that's it. So that's and since I've done that, I even use it less. So not even all those times. And so that made me not wake up and start scrolling, and then 2 hours have passed by, and then I'm like all fucking confused and like overstimulated,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Which,
so that's it. I just have an hour to check it in the morning, see how the post from last night went, maybe answer a couple of messages, repost a story or something, and close it. And then in the afternoon, I just see what I want to post, edit it, post it, do a little bit of engagement, and I'm out. Because otherwise, it starts becoming a detriment, you know.
yeah.
So that's my
Yes.
tip. That's the
No.
best thing I've
No,
done so
that's
far.
great. No, that's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about because I've it's something I'm fairly good at. Like the whole screen time thing. I've always been fairly good at it. And however, there have been times that I haven't. There have been times that it's been horrible. And I've had to really clamp down to get a hold of it because it's one of those things that you can waste your life. And that's no understatement. That is no understatement. Like there are people right now that are very literally wasting their lives. These are real days. This is real time that they're spending on these apps. And I don't think like the moment we overlook that truth is the moment that we fall back into it. And then we fall and then it becomes a problem again because it's like, oh, what's the big deal? It's like, no, the big deal is this is your life. This is real time. You've got limited days and you're spending those limited days on useless, useless and wasteful practices that
Yeah,
doesn't make you feel good and that doesn't leave you at like sometimes heck that you're right, Neil, you're right, John. There's like a lot of education out there. And like sometimes I can be scrolling and I don't leave more educated than I came. If anything, probably less. If anything,
yeah,
probably less. And so I think it's an important one. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and you're gonna see some resources for your business, but you're also gonna see a huge amount of really emotionally triggering stuff that is just draining your creativity. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
can we talk about comparison?
yeah,
I don't know if you found this to be an issue on like using social media a lot. Um, but I have a lot of conversations with people that are getting really discouraged because they see another brand that has been selling for a fraction of the time that they have, that's been around for a fraction of the time, and they have double the audience or something like that. And it discourages it, like it's same effect. It paralyzes them from doing something. I don't know. Like, is there something like I've had the same problem? Is that something you've
yeah.
ever?
No, I had this. I I I I have not in the past few months, but I've had it before. Maybe, uh, yeah. That when you don't know, I mean, it's like, how is this account? Maybe they've been doing it for years, also, but you're like, how is it so huge? Like you, and
Yeah.
My conclusion right now is, first of all, it doesn't really matter because they're they and you are you, and then you don't really know what's going on behind.
True. That's
You
right.
don't know. You don't know if
That's
they have
right.
a BC. You don't know if their parents are rich. You don't know if they had did they, I don't know, maybe one of them plays in a band and he knows a bunch of people, and like that's how they got big. Or you don't know if the followers are fake. You don't know anything pretty much. I
Yeah.
mean, you can go there and try to investigate, but it's not the best use of your time, to be honest. So
Right.
um,
And I think if
so
nothing fruitful is coming from it, from looking at that and from observing accounts like that, heck, John, I had to unfollow some. I had to unfollow some accounts.
yeah,
That's it. Like that's the truth. I just unfollow and problem solved. Like that's it. Like I don't remember who they are. I don't even remember who I unfollowed. I they're gone. Like they are yesterday. And like I'm better for it. Like I'm more productive for it, and I'm happier for it, and that's important. Like I think like we overlook this, John, that like approaching our work with passion and joy, and because I think like people notice that. People notice that when you create stuff and when you have conversations and stuff like this, it's like, oh, like you've got a little, you know, jump in your step. It's like you actually like what you do. It's like, yeah, I
yeah,
love this. This is great. Like having like sitting down with you, John, like having this podcast and doing this show. Like we're just talking about what we love to do. Like I think
yeah.
like
I think for you to be like a healthy creator, you need to limit your social media time.
yes,
But I mean, 80% of your time has to be you creating, or if you need to go to the gym before creating, then do so. Whatever you have to do to get yourself in the mental space. And then 20% of the time has to be like, posting and engagement. But
yeah,
after that, it's just it's a place to showcase your stuff. That's it.
yeah,
It's not, there is content there that you will learn, but again, you can fall into these traps. So I would say 30 to 20% of your day only has to be on social media. Then you have to be trying to shut all the noise down so you can hear yourself and create.
yeah.
That's kind of my balance. I would, if it would be, if I would be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think this has helped someone. John, I hope you don't mind if we make a little pivot. I know that a while ago that with your brand Undreamed Merch, you created a Discord community.
Yeah,
And a lot of brand owners are going to be listening to this and going, what the heck? This guy created a Discord community. Some are going to have their finger on the pulse. They're going to know what's going on. They're like, oh, this is smart. Others are going to be like, why? Like, I don't even know. Like, is that a project you've been actively working on, or is it kind of just in the background
I
at the
have it.
moment?
I'd open it and I left it there, and I wanted to see what happened. If like
Yeah.
if there was some way that people can find it, and the question is no. So you need to l- make people go there, and
Yeah.
I haven't really find the time to do it, but it's there. I don't know. I might do it at some point. I also like to like reserve my handle. Like, so
Yes.
whenever there's a new channel, I try to go there and like have,
No,
so I
that's a
can
good
have my
point.
my name. Then
Yeah.
I'll see,
Yeah.
because I remember I did that with Twitter a long time ago with like my personal one, and I have my handle, which is now people probably want it, like, but it's like I got it. It's mine. It's first. So it's good to go to platforms and be first, because you're never gonna know what's gonna happen. But
Yeah.
No, I haven't invited people there, and yeah,
I'd love it, like even though like it's not a real active project at the moment. Heck, who knows? Maybe it maybe will be one day soon. But I'd love you, John, to share with listeners some of the thoughts and ideas that you had for this community, if you'd be open to it. Because I know, like, especially with customer feedback, that was a big one. Like I talk about the benefits of community often. It's like where your customers can make friends with each other. They're more devoted to your brand, therefore, where you can release exclusive clothing to this community space. But I hadn't even considered, John, this customer feedback thing. So I mean, could you touch on that?
because it's okay. So this comes because you made a post about communities being probably the next step for social
Yes.
media building of brands, and the idea was to do, instead of one to many, to do many to many, right? So
Yes, correct. Yes.
having like, so I went and
One to
opened
many,
the,
by the way, dear listener, one to many being your Instagram, your one person and your one company posting to many followers. Many to many being those many followers interacting and posting to those many followers. It's a community space. Sorry, John,
yeah.
continue.
So the thing is, I'm old enough to to having been like browsing the internet before Instagram arrived. And so there was a lot of interaction in forums. Like there was forums dedicated. So I
Yeah.
remember there was this, if you, I don't know if you're familiar with the music style called dubstep.
Yes.
So
Yes. Familiar.
before
I used
before
to it.
dubstep, yeah. So before dubstep kind of went mainstream, it was kind of a very underground thing, in especially in London. And there was this thing called dubstep forum, and that's where you would find people and mixtapes and online radios. And if you were moving to a new city and you wanted to enjoy a dubstep night, that's how you would hang out. So I remember that kind of way of interacting in the internet before it was one to many,
Mm,
or one to one, which is Facebook, sorry, Instagram messages.
yeah. Yeah.
So, and I remember that being very much like a community. Like it's, it's maybe Reddit has that still. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Reddit's pretty big still. I don't think like they've got a very big following among those
yeah,
that
but
enjoy.
you have the upvotes thing, which it leads to people being just being witty for being witty, and you know yeah, it makes
Just trying to get
something.
upvotes.
It makes something to have that. Everything is every little change makes people behave different. In a normal
True.
forum you wouldn't have that, and people would just try to collaborate. Otherwise, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea of having a Discord channel for your brand, you could use that to see what people are talking about, and then getting ideas from that. And also, obviously, apart from the profit, you want to engage in that. I mean, I like going to record stores and talking to strangers who are there about music. And if you go to a skate park, you would, maybe you go to skate alone, and you would end up talking to someone, about their board or their wheels, or how this ramp is harder than the other. And an internet forum is kind of, it facilitates that type of interaction more than Instagram.
Yes.
um so that's why we were talking about that. And I think it could be something to pay attention to in the future, because at some point, like the Instagram model is going to collapse. And
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
also
Will.
TikTok. Well, at TikTok, I
Yeah.
don't even think it's good to sell clothing, but anyway, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, these they're very feeble. TikTok especially is quite a feeble platform, I think. But yeah, so one thing I want to point out from what you say, John, because I love everything you're saying. Is that everything that you've mentioned, like you've got these dubstep forums, or you've got people that you talk to at a record store, or people at a skate park. The the thing that is common about all these examples, they're all different communities, but it's that everyone inside of these individual communities is unified by a common idea or identity. The dubstep people are interested in dubstep. The record people are maybe musicians, or they just like records. And the skaters, they skate. Like, and I think that's the key to community that I think so many brands miss. It's like they want to build a community, but they don't know what they're building a community about, or they don't know what they're building a community around. It's fundamental that people don't gather for no reason. People don't gather for no reason. There's always, if there's a gathering of people, there is always a reason. There's always a commonality. There's a common trait, or there's a agreed upon a foundation for this community. So I think it's the role of the brand. If anyone's listening and thinking, man, this community thing sounds good, I can get customer feedback, my audience can make friends with each other, they'll be more devoted, they'll be more loyal to the brand. All these things are true. And you need to start with thinking, what is my community about? What is it about? What are people gathering for? Because I'm sorry, I really don't think that people are going to gather just because of your brand. Or if they do, it's not going to be as effective. You know, like I think, and what am I getting at here? It's that you need to have like a very clear brand identity or lifestyle, like Undream merch, John, where it's fringe subcultures, and we're talking about music, and we're talking about collecting, and we're talking about like vinyl, and like all of these kind of sub ideas. The people that are in your community are those that care about these things. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, imagine I'm following this guy on Instagram who's like he's a painter, but he doesn't really it seems the painting thing is not going really well, and he somehow started to do criticism of other people's painting. People submit to him, and he charges a fee to getting this draw, and then if you're selected, you get a critic reel of some of your work. And some of the criticism, one of the best ones, that he's very witty. He's like, you know how to paint. He tells to a guy, you know how to paint, you know how to draw, everything's perfect, but this doesn't tell me anything. And if you do a brand which the design is, it's perfect, it's beautiful, the fabric is, whatever, reflective, thermal, whatever, but you're not saying anything. It's just like a pretty drawing, but it has no substance, like it doesn't have any emotion, any communication, any idea. So you need to have something. What are you saying? What are you communicating? What is the community about? What is the common thing about these people? Those are all questions you need to do. Otherwise, it's just gonna be a pretty piece of cloth with some nice typography and colors, and that's it. That's still hard to do. That doesn't mean that that's easy. It means that you need a little bit more substance behind that to communicate with people.
John, that was the biggest gem of the episode. You summed it all up, my friend. That was amazing. Oh, I love it. Yeah. And look, I think we're about to wrap up. But just before we do, and heck, maybe you have nothing to say on this, but in case, I want to give the opportunity, John, for you to share one story that comes to mind that encapsulates or summarizes your experience building a community, or the benefit, or something, when, like, while you've been building this community around your clothing brand, something you go like, yeah, this is it. Is there any story that comes to mind?
I think the daily effort, daily posting.
Mm.
I think that's the key. That was the key for me, and that's something we started doing with you. You put me into this challenge of how many weeks was it?
I don't know, like 12 or something.
Yeah, so
12.
12, one reel per day for 12 weeks, and I
Yeah.
pretty much didn't stop after that. Today I haven't done that. Today I haven't posted because I went to work on some new stuff that I'm going to be putting on the store, but I cannot say what it is. But there was a
Yeah.
big
Find
reason,
out.
But tomorrow I'm going to post too, so I'm gonna, it's always, yeah, doing the same thing every day. That's something I would say it's a tip. Like if you do that, there's some days you're not gonna want to do it. Just do it. Just do the barely minimum, and then next day,
Yeah.
just keep repeating, keep being out there. This comes from graffiti, like you need to get up, and people need to see your name. So
Yeah.
just bomb it, boom, 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 repetition every day. It doesn't matter if it's a product post or a community post, or just do it every day. That's the my main, giveaway. And then mindset, probably just try to stay positive. And sometimes it's gonna it's gonna sound delusional, so just be delusional if you have to. Just don't do anything stupid, don't put your whole life saving into a collection or something like that, but just be positive, and if the time frame is long enough, you're gonna make it. Like if you're trying to make $1 million in 1 year, it's gonna be hard. But if you're trying to make it in 10 years, it'd be more doable. So if you don't quit, then
Right.
it's gonna happen somehow, some
And
way.
think about it like this: $1 million in 10 years is 100 grand a year. Most people would be happy as anything with that.
Yeah.
And doesn't, not to say that you're gonna make 100 grand every year leading up to the million, but maybe to say that, 1 year you'll make 50 grand, and the next you'll make 200, and the next you'll make 500, and the next you'll make, whatever, and there's your million, right?
Yeah,
So
and even if you
that's
make
a good advice.
100, if you make 100 1 year and the next year you make 10,000, then that, so be ready to be optimistic every day, and know that it's gonna be hard, but you need to do both. Know that it's gonna be hard because there's gonna be hard moments, and then always try to be positive, and be delusional if you have to be delusional. Think you're gonna do it somehow. You're gonna do it, and keep
I love
going.
it. I
Keep
love
going.
it. Oh, John, this was such a pleasure. It's the morning where I am right now, and I'm so ready for the day after this. It's just like
Hyped up.
so good.
I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, you're going to sleep. This is what happens, and I'm just
But
like,
I'm hyped
what?
up right now also.
Hey, before you go, I mean, John, and many of the listeners know that I'm building a community of my own for brand owners, and I'd love you, John, to please share what benefit, if any, this community space has been for you. Should listeners join? Why and why not?
Yeah, you should join because, well, first of all, there's like-minded people that will hype you up if you need to be hyped up, like if you're feeling a bit low, I'm part of that community as well, the 365, and sometimes people I think you posted, I'm not feeling really good today. I'm
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah,
hey,
I
just
have.
try to do the bare minimum, go like, so that kind of thing. And then, so that helped me a lot. And then, um yeah, well, the exercises that we've done, they helped me, gain a lot of clarity on what I wanted to do and what was my brand about. And yeah, I think just being in contact with people that are doing the same thing than you, it's amazing. And yeah, it's, I would recommend it. Those were my takeaways. I mean, the support and, the conversations that we had, you obviously know what you're talking about. So, you gave me your pieces of, your nuggets, and I took on from there. So a lot of people can benefit from that.
Thank you so much for those kind words, John. So
To
you
you.
you heard the man. Links in the description. You can join. It's totally free. But John, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show and having a great conversation with me. You have a great night, my friend.
Thank you. Have a great morning, and bye bye to everyone listening, and follow me.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.